Do you have a half sideways vagina? I whispered. Oh, hello there. I would just like to preface this video by saying, you saw the title. You know what I'm going to be talking about today. If you don't like videos where people rant about books that they don't like, you don't have to watch this. Like, you really don't. Because I'm warning you up front. That's all I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm just going to be talking about a book that I hate. I personally find these videos to be funny and entertaining. Obviously, we all love books, but not all of them are good. Of course, this is an opinion, but this is my opinion. If you're going to be super salty about the fact that I am sharing a negative opinion that I own, like, you don't have to watch it. So that's that. Today, we are going to be talking about the worst book that I've ever read. Do you guys have a singular book that you hate more than any other book? I'm very curious. I definitely have that book. I have like one single book that is by far the worst book I have ever read in my life. This is, bar none, the worst piece of literature I have ever read. So let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about this book that I hate. You're probably wondering what this book is at this point. I will tell you the book. The book I hate more than any other book on this planet, the book that I think is truly the worst thing ever written, is Palo Alto by James Franco. This is a book of short stories about different teenagers who live in Palo Alto, California. It was written by the actor, James Franco, and it's bad. It's so bad. I have a journey to go through with you guys. This book and I have been through a lot together, so let's start at the beginning. I am in college. This was back in like 2012, somewhere around there. I actually went to college with James Franco. Not really, but like kind of. Graduated from high school, went to school for my undergraduate degree, and James Franco decided to attend my college. He was obviously not in undergrad with me, so like we weren't classmates or anything like that, but he was taking like a creative writing MFA at my school. I never saw him at school. My personal meeting with James Franco comes later in this story because he attended like an intensive class that happened during winter break. So I was there during the regular school year. I went home for winter break, and that's when he was on campus doing his whole writing thing. He left, and then I came back from winter break, so we never crossed paths. But it was kind of like a whole thing where, oh, James Franco's going to our school. A lot of my friends did have like weird random interactions with him. My story begins on a fateful day when I went thrift shopping with some of my friends at school. I was perusing the books and I found this book. And I said, hey, should I get this? Like, James and I are like, we're basically classmates now. I should get this book and see what it's all about. It was only a couple dollars. I bought it at this thrift store, and my life has never been the same. We started driving back to school, and I opened it up and started reading it, and I realized that it was awful. I really quickly started reading it aloud to my friends in the car because I was like, you need to listen to this, experience this with me, like listen to how bad this book was. And we were dying of laughter reading this book out loud because it was so badly written. And this became a tradition with my friends and I at school. We would all gather around and I would read aloud from this book, Palo Alto Stories by James Franco. This is truly like one of my favorite, like most cherished memories from college are these nights where I read this book out loud to people because it was so much fun. Truly, we had the best time reading this book out loud and laughing at it because it's so bad. So in a sense, I want to say thank you to James Franco for writing this book that gave me so many memories. That's pretty much the one good thing I can say about this book. Actually, one of the very first videos that I posted on this YouTube channel, like before I started doing BookTube, was a like half-hour long video of me reading one of the stories in this book because I ended up leaving school, and so I wasn't with my friends anymore, and we missed reading this book so much that I actually filmed a video of myself reading the book out loud, and I sent it to them so that we could like have that experience again. I have since privated the video. You cannot watch it, but I'll maybe insert a little vintage footage of me reading from this book way back when.
AJ was so lonely and angry, and all his feelings got computed in strange ways. He had had a girlfriend in LA, a black girl. She must have hated herself. April was white, but AJ really liked her. After 30 minutes, April and the girls weren't there. It was just us, cold, in the cold. It was just us, cold, in the cold.
Later on, after I had left school, I took a trip to New York. I was just by myself in New York City, and by a random happenstance, I was walking through the streets by myself, and I turned the corner and I was about to continue walking down the street when a man just like put up like a huge gate in front of me and like blocked me from walking down the street. I was like, what's happening? I realized I was standing directly outside the stage door for the Broadway show of Mice and Men, which James Franco was in. I did not plan for this. Usually I would not advocate for going to stage doors of shows if you didn't see them, because really it should be for people who were patrons of the show and want to get like their playbill signed and like meet the actors. But I figured I might as well just stay there. I ended up right there at the exact right moment. Like, it was fate. I was gonna meet James Franco. I was like, finally, this is time. James Franco has changed my life so much. I need to like explain to him. He did come out and stage door. So I technically met James Franco when this happened, but it was pretty uneventful because he really was not talking to anybody. He was wearing sunglasses and like just like vaguely like pointing to people and like signing things and like ignoring people when they talked to him. I kind of started to talk to him because I like wanted to say something. I didn't really know what I was gonna say because I was like, how do I really explain that like I viscerally hate you, but also like you're a very important part of my life. I didn't really know how to put it in words, and thankfully I didn't really have to, because I started to talk to him and explain to him how we were former classmates, and he went, yeah, and then like walked away from me. People were asking for photos, and he just like kind of addressed the crowd and was like, why don't you all turn around and take a selfie, and then I'll be in the background of it. And I was like, are you serious? And at this point, like, there were so many fans that were just like shoveling their way in, like trying to get a selfie with James Franco. I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it. And I like took a picture of me like taking a selfie, and like he's kind of in the background, but also there were like people like smashing their way into me and like shoving me out of the way. I think I still have that photo. I'll include it here if I do. But yeah, that was my experience meeting James Franco. It was didn't end up the way that I expected it to, but I didn't really know what I was hoping for. So anyway, you're all probably waiting for me to talk about the worst book I've ever read, and instead you got like a 20-minute rant about just me like detailing my sordid history with James Franco, the actor. Not what anybody came here for. So let's talk about this book. This is, like I said, it's a book of short stories. It follows all these teenagers who live in Palo Alto. I believe James Franco is from Palo Alto, so it's, you know, like diving into his childhood experiences, one would assume. I hope it's fictional, but probably a lot of it isn't. A lot of these stories are interconnected because they're all set in the same town, so like you'll see characters from one story pop up in another. It's about like the same general friend group. Yes, they are individual short stories, but there are interconnections there. What makes this the worst book I've ever read? So many things. For starters, let's just talk about the writing. The writing is so bad. It feels like a 3-year-old wrote this. The sentence structure is so dull and repetitive. It's like short sentences and they're like, I did this, I thought this, I picked up a pen, I wrote on a piece of paper, my name is Brad, I love pens, I held a pen in my hand, I was writing on a piece of paper. Like it's just like da 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 na 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 na, like the same sentence over and over, and it tells like the same information over and over again. It's so repetitive. It's like grating for me to read this book. It's so badly written. Whenever it gets descriptive, it's like weird, doesn't make sense. The descriptions are also awful, and I just like wish it didn't even bother trying to be descriptive. It's just so badly written. And then content, that's the worst part of this book. The content is really where like everything just falls apart. This book is so offensive. Literally every offensive thing imaginable is in this book. It is so racist. It's so misogynistic. It's homophobic. It's vulgar and rude. It is just mean to every group of person you could even imagine. It's so bad. It's like painful to read this book. Literally, there is something offensive on every single page. I feel as though this is done for several reasons. I think that it's done for shock value. I think it's trying to be edgy. This doesn't really work because it's so much. You're just like bombarded with so many offensive statements on every single chapter that it's like, you're just boring me with your absolute buffoonery. James Franco is maybe trying to make some commentary about society. I don't really know what he's trying to do. I believe that this is probably how all of his friends actually spoke and acted when they were in high school. Like, what else would he be basing this off of? And that disturbs me. I feel like there's no way that you could write this book and have it be as offensive as it is and not hold some of these beliefs. Because it's like very blasé about it. It's very chill about every single character just being like extremely racist and sexist. But like it offers no form of like criticism of these ideas or like critical thought about these ideas. There's nothing in here to suggest that he's trying to make like a statement or like thematically do something. He literally just has written a pile of garbage. It's so bad. In a similar vein, pretty much the entire content of this book is like teenagers doing illegal things. So like they literally are just like getting high and drunk in every single chapter. There's a lot of like sexually explicit content. There's like petty vandalism and theft and stuff. Pretty much every single story in this book is just about teenage debauchery. And again, for no discernible reason. There's no point to it all. Like, it's literally, you're just reading story after story about a teenage boy getting drunk. Why would I want to read that? What, like, value does this offer to society? Nothing. Let me just flip through this book and read some random sections and you'll kind of see what I mean. I can pretty much flip it open to any page and you are either going to get something racist, something sexist, or the characters are going to be doing drugs. That's like going to be on every single page. Here, this is perfect. This page, I have literally just opened to this one. Here we go. Barry and I and Fred and Ivan and AJ Sims sat in the kitchen nook at the little table and took shots of whiskey. It was strong and burned, and I felt powerful at that little table. When people would wander through the kitchen, we'd get smart with them because the whiskey was working on us. Chrissy came in to get a glass from the cupboard. Hey, Chrissy, you suck any dick lately? You're a fucker, Ivan, said Chrissy. She was short, pretty, and perfectly blonde. Barry, why do you even let this fucker at your house? I dunno, said Barry. Chrissy, suck dick or get out, said Ivan. You're such a motherfucker, said Chrissy. A pale motherfucker. Ivan was really pale. Suck dick, said Ivan, and all the guys drinking whiskey laughed because Ivan had a running thing with Chrissy where he hated her and just said the worst things to her. Her boyfriend Jerry wasn't there, so we felt free to laugh. After a while, I was drunk and things felt wavy. Oh, this is awful. We also hung out with Howard Verne. He was anorexic, the only anorexic boy I have ever heard of. He had an awful body shaped like a pear, with skinny arms and skinny legs, and cellulite on his stomach. We said he was skinny fat. Why would you say that about somebody? Tom Prince had horrible face acne, which sprouted in small groupings like piles of bat shit. The piles were always runny because he would pick at them. He was an angry, fat young man. We threw a bunch of oranges, but he couldn't hit us. We laughed and laughed at the fat ass on the ground. Howard was laughing too. Then Tom stopped and yelled, "What the fuck are you laughing at, you anorexic fuck? Why don't you go slit your wrists again, you fat pear-shaped piece of shit?" Oh, here's a great one. Then I whispered, "I heard that Chinese people have sideways vaginas." She didn't say anything. Her face was touching mine, cheek to cheek. "I'm Vietnamese, half," she said, like it was a secret, and like she hadn't told me before. "Do you have a half sideways vagina?" I whispered. She said, "No," very quietly. "Can I see?" I said. She was quiet, but not as long as before, and then she said, "Okay." I took her pants off. We were still in our blankets, so it was hard to maneuver. I couldn't see in the dark, but I could feel. Her ass was fantastic, very hard. And her tits were big for an Asian. So yeah, I can pretty much sum up every single story in this book. It's about a teenage boy. He drinks a lot of alcohol with his friends, and every single character he meets, he has a lengthy description in which he describes what they look like really rudely, always mentioning race if the person is not white, usually saying something offensive about that person's race. This book definitely uses the N-word at multiple points. It uses homophobic slurs, other racist slurs. It's not great. A girl will usually show up, the boys will objectify her, then they will vandalize something, and then the story ends. That's what happens in every single chapter of this book. So you don't need to go ahead and read it. I just summed it all up for you. It's so badly written, I just cannot get over it. There is no way that this book would be published if it weren't written by a famous celebrity. There is no way that James Franco would have been accepted to all the writing programs that he has been accepted to if he were not a famous celebrity. I truly hate him. He's my nemesis. This book is disgusting. I hate it so much. And again, it's not just the fact that this book has offensive content. There are books that have offensive content and it's used appropriately and used critically. You need to do something with those characters and you need to have a handle on the way that you write them and the way that they come across to your audience. That is not present in this book. I just hate it. I hate it so much. So yeah, this is the worst book I've ever read. It is my least favorite book of all time. How could it not be? It's truly vile. This was probably the weirdest video I've ever made, but I had the idea, it came to me, I thought that it would maybe be fun. So I hope this was fun for somebody. Please don't hate me for this. I was so worried about how this is all gonna go down. We'll see. But there you go. That's the worst book I've ever read. Palo Alto, stories by James Franco. Let me know the worst book you've ever read in the comments down below. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.